Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 475. Meeple Nation May 2023 news.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
We are the hosts of Meeple Nation. I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Dave Holliday.
I'm Logan Howard.
I'm Andy Holliday.
And I'm Douglas Stewart.
Meeple Nation is brought to you by GameToppersLLC.com. Have you ever thought to yourself, wow, I wish I could be really cool like Andy? Then you should go check out Game Toppers LLC. And they have the tools to make you maybe as cool. They have amazing toppers, mats, all sorts of accessories. You can't go wrong when you go on their website. Berkey will take care of you. Go check them out.
Okay, it doesn't take much to be more cool than me. Andy, on the other hand, that's a pretty high bar.
Well, when we were at Hugg-a-Meeple Con, I think he was criticizing your tables because he's like, wait, why is your table smaller?
I would never criticize Nathan's tables, ever.
He's always making fun of my Watsons.
You're both pretty cool. And if people want to be cool too, they should definitely go check out GameToppersLLC.com.
You're not wrong, Doug.
Welcome to Meeple Nation. We are your hosts. I am Andy Holliday.
I'm Douglas Stewart.
I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Dave Holliday.
And I'm Logan Howard.
We are 5 today. All 5 of us in one room recording. It is a rare moment.
Stop the clock. Yeah, I'm going to write this down that Logan's not working tonight, and we are all here. That is big fun.
So I don't get sass from Dave today.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I should clarify, Dave Bremer.
Absolutely.
Or Dave Holliday, maybe.
I'm okay with his sass.
Okay.
In person, it's sweeter.
Well, on that note, check out our website. If you want to know more about Dave and his sassiness, or Logan, check out their bios. I don't know how sassy they are, but maybe it's been updated since the last time I read it. Maybe it should be updated since the last time I read it. But we all have bios on our website, and you should read them and check them out. We also have links to all of our previous episodes. We have blogs that we would love for you to check out and read. And we have photos of our gaming experiences that we've had over the last several years. On our website, we also have a link to our Patreon. We absolutely enjoy what we do. We love to record and talk about games. We appreciate any support that you can give us that will allow us to make your listening experience all the better. And if you have any questions, we would also love to hear from you at meeplenation@gmail.com, or jump over to our Facebook page, Meeple Nation Off Air. We get a lot more traffic over there, and that's probably the best way to get a hold of us and talk to us. So if you have any opinions or just want to talk about games, jump over to Facebook or any of our other social media accounts. We'd love to hear from you.
This week, we are excited to be talking about things that happened in April for our May news episode. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of go just around the table, and people can talk about the wonderful gaming experiences they had over the last month. I think probably forefront on everyone's mind is Hugg-a-Meeple Con. So 2 weekends ago, we got together with the Hugg ladies and had one of our biannual Hugg-a-Meeple Cons. This was Hugg-a-Meeple Con North, so we did this at Andy's house. And the games were amazing, the company was amazing, the food was amazing, and a good time, I think, was had by all. Definitely by me.
It's not all about the food, but the food is pretty important.
It really is. It's the glue.
Yeah, we had a good turnout this year. We had right around 40 people, if I'm not mistaken, which was great. It didn't seem overly crowded in the house, but yet we had games going on most of the tables, if not all the tables, pretty much all the time. So it was great to have that kind of turnout for our Hugg-a-Meeple Con. We got to play a lot of games. It was awesome.
So we had 5 tables set up. We had your 3 Mycrofts, my 2 Watsons set up there. Like you said, we had close to 40 people. We had invited some new people, and you can catch a lot of those people in our upcoming episode in just about a month. The bulk of the people that attended talking about their highlights of events in the past or events from SaltCon, if that was their first Hugg-a-Meeple Con. Andy was so gracious to allow us to invade his home and didn't kick me out for making 5 messes. in his house. But
I'm used to it.
yeah, anytime I'm at Andy's house and there's food involved, for some reason, I just get anxious and I throw my food on the floor.
So, speaking of Hugg-a-Meeple Con, since that's kind of forefront on everybody's mind, what were some of the games that stood out? Some of the memories that I guess that stood out, things that you think you're going to remember a long time.
I think for me was one I was incredibly excited for, and I'm a little bummed that Nathan didn't get to jump in on this, I was really excited to play Tiny Turbo Cars with the Hugg ladies.
I was looking forward to it too. That was when I believe I was making a mess at that point.
Yeah, I think it was when you were cooking.
Yeah.
But,
so one of my bigger messes, yes.
One of your bigger messes. But, oh my gosh, it just like every time we play Tiny Turbo Cars, it was a riot. I love watching new people play that game. I still haven't seen anybody get quite as giddy as Nathan did when I was explaining the rules or playing it for the first time, but it was a fun experience to watch the interaction between how everybody was driving down the track. Logan, you did much better that time.
I did.
Doug, I think I beat you by one space.
It was by one space. I was starting to get a little salty during that play. Logan kept really shutting me down. It was ticking me off. But that's the fun of that game, right? It's just, that you get that perfectly laid plan or you get kind of lucky with the way you're flipping the little sliding puzzle thing and stuff kind of works out for you. And then another player comes along and gets in your way or moves the robot or does something that just completely messes you up, and it's part of the fun and the stress of that game.
It totally is. And the funny thing is, so if you're one of the parts of that game is if your batteries are run out, your next 3 commands have to be recharge to get your health back to full. My batteries were done at the very end of the round, and I totally forgot during the programming phase. So I thought I had this perfect. Oh yeah, this is perfect. My program is going to work out perfectly. I'm going to go right where I want, and then I look down and all my batteries are expended. So it totally messed up my entire turn because I had to forfeit my first 3 commands, and then I think I ended up in the fire at one point, and I can't remember if I fell in a hole in the floor or something like that.
And I don't know. Andy kept telling us rockets don't really do much. Oh my gosh! And I think 3 or 4 people landed successful rockets against people in that game.
Well, that's because you had the tank that.
I only
shoots in
did
all
2 of
directions.
those. I only did 2.
Yeah, they still hurt.
And
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Your odds go up when you're with a higher player count. I mean,
that's true.
For sure.
When you're playing with 6 players and you're firing a rocket, if you're not in the lead, you actually may hit somebody.
So I actually think a decent strategy with that game to counter what Doug's saltiness is instead of trying to go for the perfect setup on the controller, you just go early. You just grab the smiley token just so that way there's less chance of somebody screwing something up.
I think there's some strategy there. I don't know if I'd call it strategy, but that's a way of thinking for sure. I mean, especially for you, Logan, you love that chaos, so you throw that in there and you just kind of do whatever.
Well, I think it totally just depends on the round and where your car's at and what the track looks like. Some rounds you want to take a little more time and be meticulous with your programming because you got to navigate those obstacles and really kind of think your way through it. And other times it's okay, I've got a straight shot. I'm going to get as many forward moving commands in my program as possible. And then I'm just going to execute and I'm going to get them there as quick as possible. I'm going to grab that smiley token and go.
That's the only way you can counter the other players getting in your way.
Right. Yeah.
You go
I do
before
agree
them.
Speaking of kind of memory challenges, as you're talking about your batteries there, one of the highlights for me was we discovered a new game, cheap little card game that I got. It's called That's Not a Hat.
So dumb.
Dave's not wrong.
and I don't mean that, such a dumb game.
But yeah, I mean, it makes you feel dumb. I mean, absolutely. You think you got a good memory, and I can remember a lot of stuff. The game is very simple. Everybody has a little, almost like a stick figure drawing variety of items. You take the card that's in front of you, and then there's a draw pile, and this draw pile is face up so everybody can see it. You're going to take that card off the draw pile. You're going to show it to everyone. You're going to tell everyone what it is, and then you're going to put it face down in front of you, and then that card will have an arrow on it that points either to the left or the right, and you're going to pass that card. So I would pass that card to Dave and say, "Hey, Dave, I have a lovely umbrella for you." And then Dave would say, "Thank you." And he'd put that umbrella, that face down umbrella, close to him, and then he would need to give a gift to somebody else. And so he would take his face-up card and he would show everybody what the face-up card is and tell everybody what the face-up card is. Then he'd turn it face down and then following the arrow direction would pass that card. And eventually the cards will go around, and then you're going to run into an arrow that's going the other way, and so the cards will start to come back. It is completely amazing how quickly everybody forgot what the card was in front of them.
Yeah, because when Nate passes me that umbrella, I have the choice. I can either say thank you and accept the gift, or I can say no thanks because it's not an umbrella. And if I call his bluff and I say it's not an umbrella, then we're going to flip that over and see what it is. If it was an umbrella, then I bank it and it counts as a point. And you don't want points in this game. If it isn't an umbrella, then Nate banks it and counts as a point. And so it's just a silly little memory thing that nobody can do.
Your youngest daughter played with us, Andy, Sierra, and she had by far the sharpest mind. Even she was struggling. And it was funny how I would pass a card to Dave, the next player, to me, and then he'd pass a card back to me, and then I'd have to pass the card that was already face down, and how quickly I'd forget what that card was. And I was just like, I just saw this. Dave just gave me this card. How come I cannot remember what this card is? It was very, very entertaining to watch all of us struggle with that remembering of the card. And so if you can't remember, then you're going to try to do your best to bluff and say, okay, this is popcorn or something that has gone around the table earlier. But the problem is we play round over round over round, pretty soon you're trying to bluff with cards that were in the previous round.
Right.
Or even a card that somebody else has face up
banked as a score. Cheryl, your wife, did that so many times where in her own score pile, she has the ladder. And so she takes this face down card and passes it to the person next to him. Here, I have a ladder for you. And everybody can see the ladder in front of her, knowing that's not it. Oh, I felt so bad for her because she just kept doing that.
Yeah. But we had a blast with this game. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I played 8 times and played with a wide variety of people. Doug, your daughter, came after her prom. Her and her date came dressed to the nines in their beautiful gown and tuxedo.
Sparkles aplenty.
We sat down and played this game with them. Creed and Amberly both quickly forgot what cards were in front of them. And Sierra was still shining. Sierra was still doing her best, but it was very enjoyable to watch people struggle as much as I struggled.
Yeah, there were a ton of laughs.
But
I'm glad you guys had fun with this. This honestly sounds horrible.
Yeah, I mean,
this does not sound like the kind of game I would enjoy at all.
Well, and that's funny is your wife, she had a hard time with it, and Dave's wife, Adrian, also had a hard time with it. But it was kind of like that pain of, I can do better. And so we'd go again, and how come I can't remember this? And then it always felt like arrows would go back and forth, and why does it keep coming back to me? But very much an enjoyable experience, high on my list.
That's awesome. One of my highlights from Hugg-a-Meeple was shortly after lunch on the first day, and things that were kind of dying down. People were off eating and visiting and stuff. And our good friends Dave and Tammy were kind of down in the basement and looked like they were looking for something to play. And so I grabbed them and offered to teach them Millie Fury. So we went over and played that. And sometimes, if anyone out there knows Dave, sometimes he's hard to read. I got through doing the teach, and then we got playing, and it was probably 3/4 of the way into the game. And I was just like, oh, Dave hated this game. I couldn't get a read on him. And then that last little bit, he was just like, wow, this is a good game. I like this game. This is really cool. This game's doing some interesting things. I like this. And it was just, anyway, but he and his wife, they both really enjoyed Millie Fury. And I had a great time just playing with them, getting to know them a little bit better, just kind of getting caught up and playing. We kind of were off in the corner over there, just playing Millie Fury. And then when we were done with that, they pulled out a little card game called, and I'm going to mispronounce this, but it's like Mondrain, I think. Mondron. Yeah, something like that. It's like a French artist who has like a specific style of art. But I had a great time playing that game. This game falls into that category of one of those just sort of lazy Sunday afternoon, just pull a card game out and casually play kind of vibe to it. It's really cool. You kind of seed the board with some cards, and all it is it's a deck of these kind of longer, narrower cards. Each card has 3 color blocks on it, and you're just building the board out of these colored blocks. But the more of those colors you can overlap with existing cards on the board, you put down these little pawns on the overlapping squares, and then you try to jump them like checkers. And the more you can jump, the more points you get. So if you can set yourself up to jump multiple of those pawns in one turn, that's what you're trying to set up for. You're trying to set up for these big combos where you can jump all these pawns. Anyway, really easy to play, a simple premise, but kind of works your brain in a fun way. It's still casual enough that you can kind of have like those conversations and just kind of think and talk and that sort of thing. But yeah, I loved it. I had a great time with Dave and Tammy. It was awesome.
I'm glad that they brought this too, because Sierra actually picked this one up. She played it and she's like, Dad, I need to order this. So we ordered her a copy. And speaking of lazy Sunday afternoons, that's what my kids did all afternoon on Sunday.
That's
was
awesome.
Play that game.
That's great.
Yeah, there was a hit because they played it several times. They were playing it by themselves at first. They were playing it with Sierra, Adrian upstairs. I saw that game out several times, and that was one they were excited to teach. It was a really neat experience for them. So Dave Bremer he does our intro now. We talk about him all the time playing Werewolf. David, when we were playing That's Not a Hat on Saturday night, they were talking about how happy they were that they came and they had got to enjoy several games like Millie Fiore. I played Rolling Heights with them, which was great. Had a great experience with that. Dave was really excited that Tammy got the opportunity to play some of these beefier games that, often intimidate newer players. And she discovered that with Millie Fiore and Rolling Heights, which were both games that would normally have intimidated her, but an environment like this where it was very welcoming, she got the chance to play these. And then she also got the opportunity to play in Werewolf. We got to see her come out of her shell a little bit. I feel like she had a lot of fun. I was really happy to have both of them there. I feel like it was a great weekend for them. It was a great weekend for me having them there.
Yeah, I'm glad that they came. This was their first time coming to a Hugg-a-Meeple Con, and I'm very happy that they were able to make it. In fact, it was really nice of them, sweet of them. They sent Sabrina and I a thank you card for having them over. So yeah, they're awesome people. I'm so glad that they were able to make it.
And everybody else was great too. I mean, we had William from Seattle was there. We had 6 ladies from Hugg, even though they had an incident at their Airbnb the night before, which was very abnormal for the neighborhood. Oddly enough, there was a murder 3 doors down from where they were staying. So they were all in the midst of the crime scene. They were playing Deception Murder in North Ogden the day before the Hugg-a-Meeple Con. So
yeah, some people done got shot.
Yeah, so
no bueno.
It was great to have everybody there. I had so much fun that weekend.
It was really fun. We got to teach Planet Unknown to actually Dave and Tammy, I believe, played Julie from Hugg and Will.
That's a really good game. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I do too. It was only my second play, but both times it's been really fun. And it seemed like everybody there really enjoyed it as well.
I heard there's an expansion that they just announced for that.
Oh, really?
That should be coming up pretty quick. Yeah.
Is that something they're going to put on Kickstarter again? And they'll probably...
I believe that it is, yes.
Because I know a lot of people are actively seeking out that game.
I believe that this is a second print run / expansion coming through Kickstarter. But yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, remember that so you can stop stealing my copy.
Yeah, Sarah.
Another game I got to play at Hugg was Monique taught us Cubitos. And that was actually a really pretty fun game. Little dice thrower, the race, each die color has a different ability, essentially. You're purchasing extra dice and just racing to the finish. It was pretty fun.
This is one that I was actively trying to get to a table that was playing it. Every time it was getting played was when I was making a mess at Andy's house.
So you still haven't played it?
Nope, still haven't played it.
Well, I could probably teach it to you if we have a copy or if we come across a copy.
Right over there.
Okay.
On shelf A.
That's right. Actually, I want to say my highlight of the month is Nathan labeled the shelves and created a spreadsheet that assigns each game to a shelf.
And put them in somewhat alphabetical order by box shape. Yeah, that took a long time. And I found out I have too many games.
I think you already knew.
I think you're right, too. It's official.
Okay, there we go.
I don't think there's any such thing. It depends on how much space you have.
That argument could be made.
Yeah. I mean, I did free up some space. Organizing stuff helps you discover lost space.
It's true.
Well, before we move too far away from Hugg-a-Meeple Con, I wanted to just rapid fire throw out just a couple other things. I got my first win playing Twilight Inscription. That was awesome. I really love Twilight Inscription.
That was a good play. A little longer with the teach, but I always love playing that game.
Yeah,
That teach is always, that's a long teach.
it is. There's a lot going on, but worth it. It's one of those games where if we start to break things down into like the cognitive load that a game puts on the player, and it's like, okay, is taking on this cognitive load going to be worth playing this game? Because some games don't, right? You have to sit through a rules teach and there's a lot going on and it's complicated, and then the experience isn't worth it. This is one where that rules teach is long, but it's worth it because then when you get to sort of sink your teeth into the game, it's just so enjoyable. Also, you guys taught me Suburbia, and that is one I had not played before and thoroughly loved. I really like Suburbia a lot.
And thoroughly spanked us too.
I did. Yeah. So also highlight. I really love the puzzle of that game, actually. It's very, very cool that the idea that you're trying to keep your money and your reputation up, but you score by going up in population. But the higher you go in population, the more money and reputation that costs you. And just trying to noodle that out and place your tiles and get synergies going with everything. Great game. Really quite a brilliant design, I think.
Which you managed to manage. You managed to manage.
I did manage to manage.
You managed that very well. Far better than the rest of us. I was looking over at your board. I'm like, how in the world does he have so much income and I am struggling to get any money at all, any income at all, like all game long? My reputation was pretty decent most of the game, but my income was horrible, and I kept having to place lakes in order to get money just to be able to afford buildings to place. Yet you didn't seem to have that struggle. So yeah, that was an impressive play, Doug.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a good time playing that. We had a really fun late night game of Wingspan, which is just always great. And then the second day, I couldn't get anyone to play Scythe or Dinogenics, which I was a little bummed about because I'm still really trying to push those and get those to the table.
I would have jumped at it.
Well, I know you would have, but I couldn't get enough people to set up at a table. So at that point, Dennis had showed up. So Dave, Dennis, Will, and I grabbed a table and we played Ark Nova. And we played Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. And I love both of those games. They're just really great games. Ark Nova is rising on my list of top favorites at an incredibly rapid pace. That is a really phenomenal game.
It really is.
It's okay.
I got to learn another new game at Hugg-a-Meeple Con. Claudine and Monique and I played a game called Tilatum, if that's how you pronounce it.
Tilatum?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a tile placement game?
I don't remember now. Hold on.
It was a really good play.
Yeah. I've heard that one.
I don't,
I've heard
honestly,
of
I
that
don't
one, I should
remember.
say.
I know I liked it a lot, but you know me. I don't remember anything. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
So
That's great.
another first time comers to Hugg-a-Meeple Con was our new addition to our game nights was Greg, and he brought his daughter the first day and his wife the second day.
The other way around.
His wife the first
He
day.
brought his wife the first day and his daughter the second day. He requested to learn Descent 2nd Edition and Lords of Waterdeep. We did get Descent to the table, Descent 2nd Edition, and we were able to play that with he and his wife and Logan. And you guys know me. Anytime that Descent 2nd Edition is hitting the table, I'm a happy camper. So that was fun. We got Lords of Waterdeep set up, and he's like, "Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta get my daughter home." I guess she was struggling staying awake. She'd been up studying for school or something like that. But
I only caught some of the post-game banter for that, and he was just seemed like he was on cloud 9 about it. He seemed really excited about Descent.
yeah, he has, I think, just the base game. I don't think he has any expansions, but it was one he wanted to learn so that he could play it. And I think he is more in line with playing the one versus many from just what I got out of his feedback, that he really wanted to try it with the one versus many rather than using the app. Such a wonderful game. And to see people enjoy it as much as I do, that always is an extra bonus.
So I got a few games that were new to me that were a blast. One of which was called Dead Last. We played this. This was the first game that we played after we made our recording, and it was a very interesting game where it's a social conclusion game. Nobody,
Not a blast. It was not a blast.
In fact, that's why Doug came to play Twilight Inscription with us. It's like,
Yes.
Nathan tortured me with this game. Will you guys save me? Yeah, we're playing Twilight Inscription. Sweet.
Yeah, so in Dead Last, you have cards. The cards represent all the players. As silently as you can or as discreetly as you can, you try to convince as many people on the table to vote with you by either making eye contact and then leading that eye contact to somebody else. Like I'm trying to lead Andy's eye contact to Dave or to Doug and say, okay, hey, we're going to vote out Doug, but try to make sure that Doug doesn't see me. Or at the same point, I can try to, when Logan's looking across the table, I can, lift up my hand to show him my card and try to make eye contact with Logan and say, this guy. And then eventually we're all going to vote and we're all going to put a card down in front of us. Everybody's going to flip over the card. Whoever was voted on the most is eliminated, and everybody who voted for that player remains in the game. Everybody else is eliminated unless there's a tie. Then if there's a tie, both winning groups remain in the game. Then the round will go again, and it gets down to 2 people, and then they have a show-off. Or a showdown? Yeah. Then they have a showdown, and they decide if they're going to split the loot that's in the middle of the table or try to steal the loot. And they each have cards that they're going to pick to decide what action they're going to do. And they try to discuss it and bluff their way through it and say, hey, okay, let's split it, let's share it, then secretly try to steal it.
Well, there were a few people at the table who shot out of the gate, like first round or 2 really quick eliminations, and they got a ton of points. And I made the mistake of thinking, okay, now we're going to deploy a little bit of strategy and make sure that those people don't get any more points. And a couple rounds later, I realized that there was no strategy at the table at all whatsoever. It was just, can we get away with being the meanest to at any given moment? And it was usually me. So
honestly, I think it was more Dave than you.
These are the kind of games I'm just not good at. I can't read people's little like eye flicks and I don't know. And then when I would finally catch like somebody's subtle little hint, they were totally lying to me. It was awful.
So apparently not for everyone, but it was I enjoyed it.
It did make for some good laughs though.
Yeah.
It was funny.
I did get a chance to play Blue Moon City and Sonora, which I was planning on learning these games and then scratching them off of my shelf of shame, but apparently I hadn't added them to my collection. And so since my removal from my shelf of shame, they had to be in my collection January 1. So I played 2 awesome games, both very fun. Sonora is a kind of a dexterity flick'em game, which was a blast to play. And Blue Moon City had some pretty simple game that had some pretty deep strategy in it, as trying to collect and gain crystals in order to advance on the altar track. And I believe it was an altar track. Both very fun games. Enjoyed those. Ones that I think I could very easily teach my wife. To end the con, we played Werewolf Legacy. So we were trying to complete the first chapter. The first game I screwed up, so we had to play the first game over again. Then we'd played 3 times on Saturday. We'd played 3 times on Friday, and then we played 3 times on Saturday. It was quite fun. Dave's son, Jack, was playing, and this last game, he was a werewolf. And it was kind of funny because he was like aggressively going after the other werewolves to try to, get people on his side thinking he was good. And he remained in it. And there was 4 people that were left in the game. And actually, when there was 5 people left in the game, he was the only werewolf in the game. And so during the night phase, it took him a long time to decide who he wanted to eliminate. And I thought it was because he couldn't remember who was in the game. Eventually, he picked somebody. It came to the point where there was 4 people left in the game. He, Lydia, Linda, and Claudine were the 3 villagers, and he was the lone werewolf. And so night came again. We'd been playing all 3 of these games and had gone on for quite a while, and everybody's getting a little bit of werewolf fatigue at this point. And so night comes and everybody closes their eyes. And so he's looking around the room and going back and forth. And so I said, okay, so just so the werewolf is aware, these are the people that are in the game. And so I listed Lydia, Claudine, and Linda. And I just stopped at that. And then Dave's wife goes, and Jack? So, I just totally killed the end of the game. And the sad thing is, as they were discussing that, they were totally going after Lydia. And so Jack would have survived one more round. And at that point, he would have equaled the playing field and won. But I totally blew it.
You tanked his game.
Yeah. Pulled the rug out from under him. And it was sad because I totally oblivious that I'd gave away he was still in the game. Because I obviously knew he was in the game. I was making eye contact and talking to him. But yeah, it was...
The best part of that was all anyone talked about for the rest of that night.
Yeah.
And anytime somebody saw Nate, they were like, wait, so Nathan, how many people are left in the game? Who can I kill, Nathan?
Yeah. It was a good time. So we had a blast. The whole weekend was exciting, and look forward to doing it again in October and then again next year.
All right. Well, does anyone have any other Hugg-a-Meeple Con stuff they want to talk about? Because we have another little convention we need to take just a moment and talk about as well.
That's what I was getting ready to jump on.
Sweet. A couple weeks prior to Hugg-a-Meeple, we, Dave, Andy, myself, and Nathan, the four of us, took a little jaunt up to Idaho Falls, Idaho, because we wanted to go up and check out Icon. I was under the impression that this was relatively new, but come to find out, they've actually been doing this for a while. But this was the first time they had kind of rented a convention center and tried to make it a little bit of a bigger event. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was just kind of a very light, very low-key little convention, and gave us the opportunity to sit for a couple of days and play some really great games.
And Gollum.
And Gollum.
I liked Gollum.
Gollum was great too.
It was just
No, it wasn't.
It was fun. It was just a rough teach.
It was a very rough teach and a very rough play, and I lost my patience. And I'm sorry, Dave.
Oh yeah, that's when. Okay, yeah.
And
We got to the end of the teach, and I was out. I walked.
It wasn't even
I'm not playing this.
It wasn't even the end of the teach. It was probably an eighth of the way through the teach that I think you left.
I was pretty checked out. Well, here's the thing, and I've kind of explained this a little bit. Gollum is a game that I've heard quite a bit about, and I do want to play it. I have actually heard that it's very good. We got partially into that teach, and everything was just so jumbled. And the guy, he was doing his best. That's not to like throw him under the bus or be mean or anything like that, but it was just such a jumbled experience. And I was just like, no, I need to come at this one. I can actually really enjoy the process, and it's not so confusing because it's a game that I actually want to play and enjoy. And after that teach, I was like, there's no way I'm going to enjoy the play of this.
Yeah, and it would have been unfortunate to have your experience soured because it really is a great game. I think you'll enjoy it. Plus, Nathan provided my best highlight of the con, so
some of the name calling got creative, didn't it?
His impatience was great. It made me happy.
So wait, I actually I'm surprised if that's actually your highlight because I think of another one too. But
So did Nathan get salty like tired Andy gets sarcastic?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a low moment in my life. Almost as bad as Red Rising at RiceCon.
Yeah, Nathan gets creative when he gets moody, salty.
so one of the things that I loved, I really enjoyed Icon, and we discussed early on like what we wanted to play, what we wanted to do. And we said, well, why don't we like use this as an opportunity to get through some of our campaign games?
Yeah.
And so the first day we played Gollum, a guy offered to teach us Gollum. And so we took him up on it, and it took way longer than it needed to. But aside from Gollum, we played Oathsworn.
Yeah. Most of that day.
Like we played it. I think we got 6 plays in. It was awesome.
Yeah, we made a lot of progress on Oathsworn.
Did we play 6 times that?
Well, like
The way that Doug taught us to record it.
Oh, okay.
Into 2, yeah. So
Wait. I want to go back. The way that Doug taught us to record, do we have to go back and audit his plays?
No, I enter plays for the story part of the game, and then I enter play for the battle half of the game. So,
Okay.
Sorry,
I wasn't there, so I needed some clarification.
Yeah. But the point, if I can get us back on track, is that we got to play a lot of Oathsworn that day, and it was really great.
It was great. And then the next day, we played another campaign game, but it was new, and it was also great.
Yeah, Stars of Icarios. This is one that really quite shocked me. In fact, I was kind of intending to just play it solo. I had purchased it. I think I had backed it on Kickstarter. I think this was a Kickstarter game, but it was sitting on the shelf. And one day I was just like, okay, I'm going to get a Shelf of Shame game down and learn it. And so I just sat through and started playing it. And like 5-6 hours later, I'd made it through like most of the prologue of the game. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And I knew I couldn't just set it up on one of my side tables and play it by myself. I was like, this is definitely a group game. We need to all be able to enjoy this one. And so we sat down and played,
Okay.
I think almost through the entire prologue at Icon.
Okay, point of order. I have a question. The prologue lasted 5 or 6 hours?
Well, I mean, you got to punch the game and get it all out and organized and then learn, that's rules reading. And
that's
then
where I needed the clarification because I was like, oh, I love campaign games. I want to play. Oh, never mind.
If I remember right, I thought we played just past the point where you played solo.
Yeah, we did. But Stars of Arcarios is great. And I know this is one that we have slated to talk about at a future date, but it gets a lot of comparisons to Gloomhaven. And I think rightfully so. It uses a lot of the same mechanisms when it comes to laying enemies out and the modifying decks and some of the basic level up structures and things like that. But this just does such a great job at creating those sort of dogfights in space that I love. It's just cinematic and fun and strategic. I think the story's good. It's got a lot to offer.
You brought up Gloomhaven. Isn't it just recently they came out with the mini pack for Gloomhaven?
It's on Kickstarter.
I think so.
Yep.
Are they doing Frosthaven at the same time, or are they just doing Gloomhaven?
It's just Gloomhaven.
I think that's like way too late, but
Not for a lot of people. Gloomhaven is still just such a beloved game. There's loads of people that'll spend money on anything that has the Gloomhaven title on it.
it's like Nathan in Star Wars.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But no, Stars of Icarios was great. I very much loved this. The development of your ship, the development of your character, and the planet exploration all brought together in one giant box that has a big bow on it that is sci-fi based, is just punching my card left and right.
And more on Stars of Icarios in a few weeks.
Absolutely. So what other highlights did you have over the last month?
One of mine was a game that Doug taught us that was probably one of my favorite games I've played this year, and that is Earth. And there were multiple times during that play that I'm just like, oh my gosh, this game is phenomenal.
It's so good. Yeah, it's kind of the hotness right now. It's a newer game, and you never know. Sometimes games get overhyped. I've definitely been burned by that before, but it just seemed like the right theme, and I'd heard a lot about it, and so I had pre-ordered it, and I've been waiting for it for a long time to come. This wasn't like a Kickstarter or anything. It was just a pre-order, and it's been months, and it showed up on Friday. So it showed up, Friday, on my doorstep. I got home from work, cracked it open, started punching it and sleeving cards and stuff while I was watching the how to play tutorial online. I think I just watched that tutorial like 5 or 6 times on repeat and had it all sleeved, threw it back in the box, and then raced off to game night.
Yeah, I am really disappointed that I missed this one. I was celebrating my anniversary. It's probably good that you didn't tell me you were going to be playing this.
You would have been tempted to skip out.
Because that's one I'm really excited about. Richie also ordered this one. He hasn't gotten it yet, but
Good.
he's
You will like
looking
it.
forward
This
to it.
is definitely a Dave game. You'll like
Now-
this one a lot.
But before we leave Icon, there was just one last thing that I thought would have made your list. None of y'all remember dinner on the way home?
We didn't want to embarrass you, Dave.
Well, first of all, dinner was difficult to find. It was hard to find a place to eat. It was either packed or nobody could make up their mind on what we wanted. So we stopped at this little diner that maybe was a little suspect, but it was actually really good food.
Not maybe, it was suspect.
It was suspect, but the food was really good and the entertainment was way better.
Entertainment was awesome.
So Dave decides he has to go to the bathroom, and I think Nathan was probably looking at his phone, and Doug was facing us, but I'm looking up, and all of a sudden I see Dave walk into the bathroom, and he totally ran into the end of the door, like slammed his chest into the door. I thought he'd hit his face. And I'm like, I started just laughing. Like, did you guys see that? Like, what? Like, Dave just slammed into the door. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it was sad. It was so it wasn't the door to the bathroom, right? It was like one of those saloon type doors that swings both ways, and that separated the hall that went to both the ladies and the gentlemen's bathrooms. And so it was just kind of like part way open and a saloon door. So in my mind, it's like super.
Just tap
like,
it and it'll swing.
Tap it and it's going to swing.
Yeah.
And so I just quickly gave it a tap, and I was walking at a brisk pace, and I tapped it to get it to open, and just kept walking, and it opened about 6 inches and stopped. And I barely missed my face. And I'm sure it looked like I hit my face because I jerked my head backward to avoid hitting my face.
It definitely looked like you hit your face, and you were walking at a brisk pace. Hence the rebound off of the door.
Right.
It was hilarious.
It was the sound heard across the restaurant.
Seriously, I actually, while I was in the bathroom after washing my hands, I decided I needed to check my chest to see if there was a mark. And sure enough, there was you could see a red outline of the door about 3 or 4 inches long right down my chest.
So in other words, Icon was awesome.
Yeah, it was good times. Not sure if I want to put it on my list every year, but I had fun. It was a great time to play those campaign games. And for that, it was a big highlight for sure.
The only other game that I wanted to mention before we wrap this episode up, last night, got the shrink off of Revive. And this is one I've been waiting for a very long time. My daughter and I set this up and played it. This is another one very similar to Earth and Ark Nova and Endless Winter and games like that have come out in the last year that I think are going to be big games on my shelf that are going to see a lot of playtime. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I can't wait to teach it to you guys because I think you're going to like it a lot too.
So we had a lot of highlights, a lot of fun times this last month with 2 conventions and some awesome game nights. It's been a great month.
The fact that Hugg-a-Meeple had almost as many attendees as Icon.
Well, there were more.
Yeah, Icon had about 250, but we're getting there, right? Andy's going to need to make an expansion on his house.
Are we going to have to rent our own conference hall for that?
Maybe.
Convention hall?
We're gonna have to build a compound or something like that for a convention.
Coming up, we have SaltCon Summer, which we have several events that we're running there. Looking forward to doing that and hanging out with some very awesome people there.
Yeah, if you're at SaltCon Summer this year, come say hello. We'd love to meet you and talk with you. Play some games.
Until next time.
Yeah. What a bunch of nerds. We'll see you giving a high five at the game table.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Hopefully, since you guys both talked at the same time, it doesn't screw it up like whatever you say the mic thing does.
Yeah, just you screw it up.
Oh, okay.
When Andy and I's voices combine, we become Captain Planet.
With our powers combined.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/Meeple Nation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_Nation. Or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.